Hi, and welcome to the Caucus for Women in Statistics 50th Anniversary Presidential Interview Series. As part of the celebration of our 50 years in 2021, we're interviewing our past presidents. This interview is of Mary Palta, our 2004 president, and will be done by Tomi Mori.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. And you've been a 2002 CWS president. And we'd like to hear about your background and memory of CWS and in celebration of the 50th anniversary next year. So my first question is, how did you end up becoming a statistician?
Well, it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll be more brief on the other questions. I was a math major in Sweden. I got my undergraduate from the University of Lund. And, being a mathematician, just pure mathematician, I wasn't quite sure what to do with myself. So I decided to just go to study abroad for a few years. And I started out in Minneapolis and majoring in math. And I was very naive. I didn't know anything about the United States system here. So I didn't know I can get the master's in 2 years. So I decided to stay another year to get the master's. And then I went to talk to the director of graduate studies. And I said, I'm going to write a thesis. And I think I've taken all the classes. So you can look over my record. And he looked and he said, but you don't have a minor. I had never heard of a minor. And then he said, I have an easy minor for you. A friend of mine is in biostatistics, and you just take this one course. It's a year-long course while you write your thesis. And then you'll have a minor and you'll be eligible for the master's degree. So I started taking this course and I thought, oh my God, this is so much more fun than math. You get to talk to people, you get to think about real life problems. So then I decided to do my PhD in biostat from the University of Minnesota, which I think was a very good decision.
I can totally relate to that. I think there's an enthusiasm coming from touching the real problems and solving the real challenges. So the next question was, when you were CWS president, what was the most pressing issue at that time?
Well, I thought about it a little bit, and I think I thought of three things. The first really overriding issue was, I think that this was during a time period when women were starting to doubt whether we really needed to have a separate caucus. People were kind of like, why would I do that? I can mainstream. Mainstreaming was a big word that we thought we should just be part of ASA and not separate out as women. It was almost a little bit of an embarrassment to be seen in this group. I thought, maybe that was just me, I don't know. But anyway, I think that was kind of a challenge. And I think that pendulum has swung back again, which is really satisfying. The other big thing was the fundraising. We had this Koch scholarship at that time, and we had a race. We had all the t-shirts we were selling. Wasn't adding up to very much. We really needed a major push. And that's when Laura Bond came in. And I think she's still doing this, right? I mean, it's just fantastic. And that solved our fundraising problem. And then finally, I think there were just too many events at JSM. I mean, I think there were like, I don't know, there were just, I can't remember exactly, but 7, 8 events. So the organizational burden was just enormous. And while everybody pitched in, that was still up to the president to coordinate everything. And it went okay, but it was a lot. So I would say those were the challenges mainly. And I think that has kind of changed now. Most of those things have been resolved, I think.
And the next question was, what was your favorite memory of CWS?
Well, yeah, having said that the meeting was just overwhelming, I guess the satisfaction I got from actually pulling it off was one of the main things. I felt really good about it afterwards. Not that I did everything, but just the coordination and the way people pitched in and the way I was actually able to eventually handle it was very satisfying. The other thing I would mention is that I really loved writing for the newsletter. You know, in those days, the newsletter came like 4 times a year. And I started as a rep at large, actually. And they were supposed to write at least one article every year, which I did for a few years. And then I wrote a lot of stuff as a president. And I really loved to write. And it kind of gave me a focus for writing about stuff. And that was my other satisfaction, I think, during that year.
I think we don't do newsletter anymore. So that makes me think that maybe we can restart the newsletters.
Well, you need an editor. That's the problem. It's a lot of work also. And in one of the later questions, when you ask about who you remember, I really remember the editor, Lynn Friedman. I don't know if you know her. She was, I mean, but after many years, you know, she finally had to say, you know, I can't do this anymore because it's just too time consuming. But she was just great. And I spent a lot of time talking to her. But yeah, I think there still is a newsletter. I saw something that was coming by email. It wasn't as elaborate.
It's more like an email blast.
Right.
And Twitter, which is a very short version. It's not really the real paragraph.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, I mean, the problem is not everyone likes to write, and it is time consuming. So, but it was also very satisfying to read other people's articles. I mean, people wrote about interesting personal experiences, and it was a kind of a bonding mechanism, I think.
I can relate. So I'm going to, since you talked about what you remember and the people in the executive committee, I'm gonna move to the next question. What challenges do you think female statisticians face today?
Or challenges for female statisticians?
Yeah, today.
Yeah, I still think that there's similar things like there have always been, you know, the needs of partners, careers, 2 career households, kids. Those are kind of the personal things that I don't think have fully gone away, although things have greatly improved in that regard. You know, most universities now are aware of that they may need to hire 2 people instead of just 1, and so on and so forth. So I would say that there are 2 more overriding things that I feel are still a problem. And one of them is, I think mentoring has improved a lot, you know, at least at and by the way, I should say that when I'm talking about academia, I have no experience from other places. You know, in academia, everything is aimed at get tenure. And I think we provide pretty good mentoring to men and women prior to tenure. So, but then once you get tenure, you kind of arrived and you made it and you get no further mentoring. And I would say that life doesn't end with tenure. It's more like it starts with tenure. So I think that a lot more mentoring is needed on you know, that level. The other thing that I've thought about a lot, and probably everybody has, is, you know, like we are told to be assertive, to ask for raises, do all kinds of things. I don't think we have many role models at this point for how to be assertive as a woman, not being seen as too aggressive, not being too mousy. We need to think about what's our way to be heard. And I think that takes a little bit more thinking than what we have done so far.
Did you, how did you overcome these challenges yourself?
Well, okay, I don't think I overcame them actually. But okay, so one thing that happened to me was that we were at University of Iowa. I think you got your degree there, right?
Yes.
One of my favorite people, Skip also. Yes. In any case, I was at Iowa. I was very happy, but my husband is in agriculture. And in Iowa, agriculture is in at Iowa State, not University of Iowa. So my husband eventually had to look for another position and found one in Madison, Wisconsin. So we moved here, and there was a statistics department here, still is. In those days, it was so theoretical. They actually told me I didn't belong there. So I had to kind of reinvent myself. And I would say that the one thing that I did right was I eventually was able to build a position for myself based on getting grants, federal grants. And I would say that that's another piece of advice I would give, if at all possible, it's very important to have your own grant. And that helps you overcome at least some of these issues within the career and within the department, because you can do things that you wouldn't if you had to beg for every penny. And also people get more respect for you when you actually have money. So I think that was one thing I did that really helped me. Another thing that helped me was that I actually had a fair amount of applied background, like I did a postdoc in epidemiology pretty much. So I was well positioned to kind of not be in the statistics department for a while. I mean, now actually I do have some small appointment there, things have changed, but in those days, it was very good to be able to fit into not just one, but several departments if necessary. And of course, there is a biostatistics department now in Madison, but not when I arrived, that wasn't.
I cannot agree about grants more. I call it the ticket to freedom.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important. And I don't think everybody realizes that. Not everybody has the opportunity either, but if at all possible, that's my recommendation.
Thank you. So the next question was more about the future. And what do you think statistics discipline will be like in 50 years from now?
Well, who knows, but it looks like we are moving a lot towards big data. And I think that that's probably going to continue to happen with increased computing. And, luckily, I mean, just the push to collect more data on all aspects of things, I can't see that trend is going to go away.
What challenges do you think that the female statistician would face 50 years from now?
Oh, probably same as now. I see one thing that I've been worried about, and I don't know if I'm over worried, is that I do think that this big data push has led to more computer-oriented statistics. And I don't know if this is just my imagination. I know some women who are doing that, but probably not as many women. So I think that we have to think about staying relevant. I mean, not being pushed out again after we have achieved what we have done. I mean, it's always been pointed out that there are more women in biostatistics than in pure statistics. And I think that there are also many fewer in computer science. So we have to think about what this means for us and whether we can. One thing I feel personally about big data is that it's often a black box. And I think that women with their interest in applications and subject matter can really make a difference, because I think that component is easily lost. And at least I personally, because that's what I'm interested in, I guess, would like to see women taking that angle more, kind of questioning the model based on real life knowledge and applied subject matter.
So I'm going to ask last questions. Would you like to say anything else with today's, younger statisticians about their career development, or any advice, maybe besides grants, any other advice that you can give to them?
Well, it's mentoring. I mean, I wish that I had realized that earlier and sought it out more actively. I think that actually, I think people like to mentor. Everybody likes to give advice. And I think that, we need to seek it out. Can I just say one more thing? I'm not sure that I got to give credit to everybody that I think have been, very memorable members of the caucus. And I would like to say that my biggest shout out goes to Elizabeth Margoshes. Her name didn't come up because she wasn't on the executive committee when I was the president, but she has been such a wonderful organizer, and she has really brought everybody together in the caucus. So I really would like to specifically mention her name. I would also like to mention some of the people who were presidents just before me. Holly Schulman, who was, she did wonders with the receptions and getting the caucus linked up with some of the ASA first-time attendees and reception. You know, that's how it was originally, a caucus reception, and she transferred it into being an ASA, a very important event. Janet Williams, who unfortunately has passed away, who put together the operations manual. I don't know if it's used anymore, but when I was president, anytime I asked a question, there would be Janet, look in the manual, Mari. You know, that was always her answer. And I already mentioned Laura Bond, as you know, made a huge difference, and Lynn Friedman with a newsletter, and all the reps at large. I won't name all of them because I guess time is running out, but all the reps at large were so helpful, and especially in those days, you know, you had to have that Cox race. Moni McGee actually pulled it off the year I was president, you know, against really all the odds. So anyway, just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that there have been so many people contributing. It's been really wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. We are planning actually happy hour with the Madam President next year. And we are asking past president to volunteer to lead happy hours, just like 1 hour. And all the caucus members are invited to join. Oh. So we will follow up, and I hope you'll be interested in a theme of mentoring. I think it would be perfect.
Yeah, when I was president, those were the two things I was trying to push. I was trying to push more of a chat room that people can exchange ideas. And I was hoping that that would lead to more mentoring, but it didn't really happen during my presidency. It's just too big a task, I think. But slowly, I think we can, you know, get to that point.
Well, thank you very much. And
well, thank you.
Yeah, any other last minute the comments that you wanted to make before I?
No, just thank you to you too for doing this. Must be quite an undertaking.
I'm very excited, and it's always so fascinating to hear about the story, you know, how they became and all the past history of the CWS. So thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
All right.